Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. How you doing? Welcome to a new live stream. Yay! So this is a fun day. Hello, my name's John Skippy Limcool. Welcome. I want to make sure that the chat is working, that you guys are able to see what's going on. Yep, I see myself in the little tiny window. Simeon is there saying it's amazing already. Right on, brother. So we are doing the world premiere. Why not? Call it a world premiere of DiscoverStation / Core Station for the BBC Symphony Orchestra and Unify. And oh my gosh, I love all the hand. Oh, cool. So awesome. Thank you, Toby. I appreciate all the support from you guys. So what is this? I've been talking about this for how long? Holy cow. This last week has been like the final ascent on Mount Everest for me or something. In one day, my assistant Taylor was here working with me. We made 400 patches in one day. To get to where we are. This library, if you take Core Station and Discover Station and all of the patches together, is 700 patches I have edited and worked on. And while the Core Station, when you convert from Discover to Core, they convert. They don't play right because Core has more samples. All the MIDI files had to be modified. All sorts of things had to be changed so that it would be optimized for the new maps. So I appreciate them saying they have this compatibility thing from one library to the next, but to say that it sounds anywhere close to the same from one to the next, it doesn't. But we have the parameters in Unify to modify it and fix it, so we did. Shane's here. Everybody at the top right now, shout out to Shane. Shout out to Shane. We would not be playing with this. We would not be here without Shane. You wouldn't be here without me either, but I wouldn't be here without Shane. I mean, he is the top of the tree that has made this all happen. So massive shout outs to my brother. I mean, just the fact. Check this out. This is playing 23 plugins. 23 instances. There's 5 instances for the strings. Here, let's play these parts one at a time. So there's 5 patches and a MIDI file. And I played very legato, doing octaves. You go like, like that. And then the strings, here's a MIDI file. You dance up and down a little bit like that, right? Oh, we have mimosas. Melanie's here.
Woo, hi, everybody.
Yay, everybody. Cheers. And thank you to Melanie.
Congratulations.
She's been here through the whole journey too, so.
Yeah, enjoy everybody, and here's to you, Shane.
Yes, Shane. Glass raised to you. Must have it. Wow, it's real deal.
Yeah, the real deal.
I'll be really nice and happy and loose by the end of the live stream. Sweet. Mel. Amazing. She's such a sweetheart. That's very sweet. Anyway, where was I? Yes, so what you do, it's amazing how it works. You make a MIDI file, and then because of MIDI box, no, that's the I had to put a filter in front of it to stop sustain pedal, but this parameter right here that you set to polytranspose is what does the magic. Oh, this should be for 4 bars. And I found if you guys are sequencing these, right now we have an issue that we're gonna work on for a quick little update in the next week or two. If you're using the low lead lag parameter, sometimes the downbeats won't play. And so you need to shift it back to 0. We're gonna fix this. We know what's going on. But like these parts that are early, if you go in and just double click the delay time so it goes to 0, that will help it so that it can play. It will be a little bit more late timing wise if you add other things to it, but there's other ways to fix that type of an issue. That's if you're sequencing. If you're not sequencing and just playing this by itself, it's not an issue. You can just leave it the way it is because it plays just fine. So these strings, legato, doing octaves. Then there's the brass section. I'm going to use right clicks on solo so it turns off solo on the other layer and enables it on the next layer. Just one click instead of having to turn off solo and turn on click here. You just right click and it will go from one layer to the next. This is a little bit more fun of a brass section than what I did for competitive edge, which is more like bump, bump, yeah. But I used to play French horn, I used to play trumpet. I am familiar with playing in orchestras. So while I'm not an orchestrator, I know the parts, what they're supposed to play and so forth. Woodwinds. So let's combine just the brass and the woodwinds. So this is 10 BBC Symphony Orchestra plugins playing simultaneously. And I have bought myself a micro control, actually nano control is what they call it, right? And this allows me, if I go over here, make sure that you guys can see. Here, let me make this big for a second. So I come over here. See this? If you have a nano control, you have to buy some of these. Oh, it's upside down. These little rubber footies. Get some of these right there. See how they're little square ones? Put them all over the place underneath this thing because it's lightweight. And this way you can put it somewhere where it's like a goat, where it's not even like, you know, part of it's over here, there's a gap, right? And so I can have it here. And now, then you use the Korg controller editor software. Here, let me give you a quick Korg control editor. And what you do is you set this up. Yep, I want to set and talk to that. I set up fader 1 and knob 1 to MIDI CC1. And I set up knob 2 and knob 2 and fader 2 to CC11. And then what you have to do, you have to go to communication and say write scene set. And that will write it into the nano control and say, are you sure? And you say yes. And then after that, I can now, do I want to say the changes? No. See how, this is the CoreStation version of the Discover library. The big difference is especially the brass. Oh my gosh, it is so incredible. It's switching between sets of samples with your mod wheel. So you're listening to everybody. They're playing soft samples. And as I bring up the mod wheel, or the fader, it's like you're in charge of the whole orchestra. And then if you go to MIDI velocity and bring it all the way up, it also works by velocity, so you can use this. Now, 11 is an overall volume without changing timbre, so that's a way to use the two. You can really get the whole. Now, in comparison, this will make you a little sad. The DiscoverStation doesn't have the same level of flexibility to it. It still sounds really, really good. Here, let me play. Here's the whole DiscoverStation version. And if I bring down the mod wheel or the fader 1, They get softer, but they're still playing hard samples, right? Oh, get out of their way. Oops. It's still playing soft samples. You hear it. As I'm changing the fader, and if you listen to the brass, it's just a snapshot of one set of samples, right? So one of the big reasons to upgrade, it's expensive, it's not cheap, but listen to what you get. Listen to these brass. It takes it a longer time to load. I think it might preload. Nope. It has to load. It takes it enough time I can have a sip of mocha. Here I'm coming. It takes a little time for it to load everything into memory. I've had, by the way, while it's loading, some of you have been having some processor issues with getting some of these bigger patches like this to load. I want to point out, if you go to the settings button, this is especially for the core version because it's loading so much more bandwidth, samples, round robins. You can go over here to audio, and I had to adjust these settings myself, but there's a preload size and there's a stream buffer size, and their defaults are kind of low. You can upgrade them all the way up to like 10 million and 1 million or something like that. Play with these if you have, the way to tell is if you're playing something and your processor is not, you don't see total processor overload here. When this hits red, you'll hear a distortion when it's maxed out. If it's not hitting there, then it's inside of the bandwidth of the BBC Symphony Orchestra plugin. So you go to that to modify it. So here, listen to the difference. Totally different samples. That's what you pay for when you buy the BBC Core version that you don't get with the Discover version. Discover is like a workstation, like one of the Korg synthesizers I've worked on. One set of samples that play nicely across the keyboard, sound beautiful. When you use it, it's very convincing. If you try to be dynamic, it's gonna require, in Korgland, we would use velocity and filtering and all sorts of cool tricks that you could do in a synthesizer. They don't give you any of those tools inside of the Symphony Orchestra plugin to do that. It's only by the samples that it changes tonality. Or a filter after the fact if you want to get really clever with it. Yes, low latency mode is another thing you can enable. What that does in Logic or other DAWs is it stops all the plugins that have a latency to them that are inside of Logic. So that can definitely free up some CPU problems. So, all right, so here's the brass and the winds together. And then down here, right click, pizzicatos. Again, it's different samples. When you combine, let's combine just the brass strings and the woodwinds and the pizzicato. So I had them doing this rhythmic dance. So they don't all play at the same time, right? So when you're orchestrating, all you have to do, my friends, I set this up thinking of you. All you have to do is mute these 4 MIDI boxes, change these to MIDI channels 1 through 4, and now you can make your own MIDI files in your sequencer. In fact, we'll probably do that towards the end. We'll do a little fun. I'll show you how to do that. It's so easy to replace this with your own DNA of whatever styles you want and so forth. Let me show you another one that's really fun. This is even going farther. It's a BPM split. Let's see, I gotta check the chat. Who's all? Yes, I have talked to Christian a little bit. He's very busy, so I invited him to show up today, but yeah, Sonny, I'll talk to you to help. So check this out, BPM split Galaxy Adventures. I'm gonna play this in the DiscoverStation version because I can go back and forth. I've converted both to sound pretty close to each other. This one is a little bit, let's see, BPM split Galaxy Adventures. They load far faster inside of Discover, that's for sure. And if you guys aren't familiar with this, this is a library from the BBC, from Spitfire Audio called the BBC Symphony Orchestra. It is available in 3 different editions. There's the Discover starting point, $49 or free if you wait 2 weeks after sending them an email. Core version, which is what I've been showing with all the samples and velocity switching. And then they have the Pro version, which has multiple microphones, way more bandwidth. You need serious computers. This is where you start getting into networking computers because there's just so much bandwidth. You need other computers to just sit there and be just your orchestra or just your string section in some cases. When you get to the bigger film guys, they have a whole row of computers and one's doing just the strings, one's doing just the brass, one's doing just the woodwinds. And we have a solution for that coming in the future. So we'll talk about that when it's here. But just so you guys know, Shane's background, he is the co-creator of a technology called NetVST, which is MIDI over Ethernet. And so those of you that are looking at the Vienna Ensemble networking to get computers working, we will be implementing something like that into Unify, built in, so that you can work and talk to other computers in your system. That will be coming this year. I can say that with complete confidence. I actually showed this like a year and a half ago in a live stream when I used my laptop to play. If you go back to look for the Massive X live stream that I did, I used our NetVST, Shane's NetVST technology to talk to my laptop and play Massive X from my computer because it wouldn't play on my computer because my computer was too old operating system wise. So that capability, especially when we start talking about this, is coming. Also, we're working on multiple outputs because another thing you film guys need is you need to send in each of these sections to a different set of outputs for controlling for master control. That's coming sooner than later. And AAX support is like the next thing on our list that we're going to get to. We have AAX working. We have a few issues still to resolve, just compatibility with certain things and stuff like that. We're really close on that. So those are 3 big things I'm happy to tell you about right now coming for Unify in this soon. So, and that ties all in with the release of this library. I wanted to make sure that when we release this, not too far after it, we bring out the support that film composers and media professionals and people in a studio environment, not just at home playing with this and enjoying it after a day of work, but people that actually need to get production work done. You need multiple audio outputs. You need AAX support. You need internet control over different computers. So those are things that we're working on. So we have so many cool things in the works. So, okay, so here's DiscoverStation. This is one where it's one note. I'm playing one note. You have a whole film composition. Hey! Entire orchestra, all in real time. Bells, everything. It's got the whole can of wax going. It's actually more than 23 plugins. I think this is, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 5, that makes 8. And 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then 15, 16, 17, 18. Plus 3 is 23. Plus 5 is 23, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33 BBC Symphony Orchestra plugins, 2 fingers. And just so we're clear, crystal clear, I love the BBC Symphony Orchestra libraries. I've been like living and breathing them for 8 months to do this. They're great, but they only let you call up one sound at a time. So you're back to the typical way of working with a library. Go Discover. You have 4 different choices for the violins. So I've selected the violins. I have longs. Right? That only play to this range. The violin range does not go below G. It's the last note that the open G string can play, unless you tune it down and do rock and roll things to your violin. This is the case for everything. If I can go to the trumpets, I can say trumpets. I have trumpets, but I have to play them one at a time. So to go from a plugin that you can just play one of these at a time, you can go French horns, goes staccatissimo, right? Well, if you go down here to the brass category, brass, and you could say power brass staccato. Oh, here's the power brass staccato just by themselves. So here's the 5 French horns, trumpets, tenor trombone, bass trombone, and tuba. You cannot do this. Either you have to go to your sequencer and you have to set up 5 tracks, arm each track by clicking the record button, and then sequence. And if you choose another track, now you have to go back and you choose those 5 tracks again to rearm. You can do it that way. Go for it if you want. And you can do it. It's more elaborate in some of the ways you can set up a combinator and so forth. But I can go from this to anything else in the list. On top of that, the thing that's fun with Unify, I could go to the strings. And here's all the string programs, all the staccato string programs. Spring. Right click, say load into new Unify layer, and just like that, boom. Go to the woodwinds. I need the woodwind staccatos too. So now I have 15 plugins. And I could play with my mix, turn everything down just a little bit more woodwinds because they need a little bit more help. You know? And now if you need them to sustain, then you need to have the full sustains with it. So right click to add that into a Unify layer. Let's have, oh, I never did. Oh yeah, I did. Wood ensemble long. I was like, oh no, I didn't remember that. So I have both the staccatos for attack and the brass for the long open ensemble. So now we have 30 plugins. Just like that. Let me see you do that in Ableton Live. Go for it. I'll wait here for an hour while you set it up. So that is the power of Unify, to take this plugin and put it into all sorts of new scenarios where you can immediately load. I come from a background programming combinations for Korg synthesizers since 1988. So the ability to combine things is something that I'm very comfortable with and love doing. So this library is right up my sleeve because here's all these wonderful instruments, and only with Unify can you play them at once. And now we're wave sequencing between multiple layers playing. So the things you can do in Unify that you just click a button and go, oh, no, I want to go to the winds for going to war. You can go all over the place. On top of this, both of these libraries contain a bonus. This is what my assistant, Taylor Harris, and myself spent, let's see, this is Saturdays. This is probably Tuesday. He came over here and we made 400 patches. We made the instrument libraries in a day. CoreStation comes with 45 instruments. What this is let's say we go viola spiccato. If you open up the BBC Symphony Orchestra plugin and you go, let's say we go here to core, okay? Core is much bigger. So instead of 45 instruments, I'm in CoreStation, sorry. DiscoverStation Instruments is 45. You know, there's 2 articulations, the strings, there's cello, long, pizzicato, spiccato, and tremolo. So there's more. Brass, there's only long and staccato. They don't give you any of the trills and stuff like that until you get to the core version of the library. Now, each of the instruments that you can pull down, especially with like the violins, there is an absolute mountain of possible things you can do. And you can use key switching to change from one to the next. There's definitely times where you want to use just the plugin by itself. You hit the little tool right here to the pencil, and here are all the possible articulations of the violin 1. And you can add them all to play and switch if you want. But you have to go to this page, you have to enable them. When you're down here, it's multiple scrolling of this list like this to see everything the violins give you, right? Well, I was like, you know, we have the technology to do this. So if you go to the CoreStation instrument library, which comes with it, and you go down to the strings, violins, you will see that entire list of capabilities. Violins 1, right here they are. And if I want, I can just right click and choose it, and the core version has 315 articulations. So I have all 300. I could go, I want the basses Bartok, and I want that in a new layer. And on top of this, I want to have the trombones Marcato, and I want to have the xylophone. Let's have that over the top of the whole thing. Just hits. So we say add that. So I've added 4 different instruments. My film cue is done. And this awesome ensemble of 4 instruments that you would have never thought to combine, you just combine because they're in this list, and you just right click and say add, and you add it to the list. So having all of them available here to go through everything that the core library provides and saying, oh, I want to add a clarinet. Let's add a staccato clarinet to this. And I'm going to turn everything down by option click and turn down all the volumes and double click to bring the clarinets back up. Boom. You have this cool ensemble for a cool, unique melody for this TV show film score melody you want. Right? Done. Move on. You got other things to write, right? So included with both the CoreStation and DiscoverStation libraries is this additional bonus list of everything that's inside of these plugins in a list, because people that use Kontakt are finding this list is far easier and nicer than the little tiny postage stamp, you know, little snapshot capability that you have. So like the Ether library and stuff like that, Ethera that Stefano has converted over to Unify, and he's looking at other things to convert. So having them available here to just say, I want this to load, and here they are. It's a wonderful way to work. So we give you both of those. There's also some really, really fun, let's use DiscoverStation, some really cool pads, like the pad like Softest Sanctuary. More film/sound design. right? So there's those types of sound designs. There's other things like the magical motion, which is using actual MIDI files to do almost like granular. If you solo one of these and turn off the effects and go to MIDI box and slow it down, it's playing octaves. It's playing it so fast it becomes an octave pad. Then you combine it with woodwinds. It's got this cool motion and stuff in it. Ooh, that's cool. So all sorts of cool sound design, more than just, here's strings, there's all sorts of cool layers. One of my favorites is the Copland fanfare. My friend Jack Hotop, I think, is the one that made this for the Korg T series. One of the workstations back in the day, he made something like this where you have timpani and brass. And this will take a minute to load. Oh, this is DiscoverStation, so. And then when you hit harder velocities, I have a Piatti crash cymbal. You know? So there's things like that that are fun. There's piano layers. There's a demo version available as well. If you want to try out this in Unify, it will not work with the demo version of Unify. I've had people ask about that. You have to have the full version of Unify to play the demo version of DiscoverStation or ChordStation. Oh, Flutes in Paradise. This is actually one in the bonus library I gave you guys for free. If you don't own the library, if you own the plugin, but you don't own DiscoverStation, this is one of the free demo patches. I gave you some of my A game in the free demo, come on. So that's fun. There's all sorts of different cinematic piano plus. Here, let me mute my microphone because my keys are. So there's that to play with. Now I made it in 16 foot and 8 foot. This is back to my Korg days. We used to do things where we have the 16, which is 16 foot means it's down an octave. So you get to the lower octave, whereas 8 foot is more for you need the octave above that. Now what's fun with this is that this fifth layer is the piano. You can take this. I could go over here, I could say, I want to use Keyscape. Do I have Keyscape in here? No, I have Omnisphere, which will get me to Keyscape. Let's use Keyscape for a minute. Show Keyscape some love, guys. Hey, it's Omnisphere. Hi, Omnisphere. How are you today? Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, I know how to fix that. Let's give you a piano sound. That'll make you happy. Keyscape library. Let's go into like something like Dark Score. There you go. Now we need Billie Eilish to start singing. This means that that fifth layer could be any plug-in piano, whether it's this or like Piano Tech or whatever you want to put the piano in. You could replace that or mute it, and now you just have this really cool string bed that's gonna sit underneath like a beautiful pad. Isn't that beautiful? But it needs a piano or something to be on top. So this is more than just an orchestra library for orchestra cats. I want to make that really clear. We have a friend of mine told me that he bought the library and he absolutely loves. Right? So it goes all over the place. And I'm going to take it now someplace very different. There's another category in here that I absolutely love, and it's called the BPM phrases. And these are phrases, single note, one note. So these are designed for dance. Go over here to Cloud City. Let's go to No Easy Street. And let's get, just for fun, let's have some weird world percussion. So let's go to the world percussion kit of Cloud City. And let's have it do techno salsa. What the heck? I have no idea what this is gonna sound like. Cool. Now, in a case like this, I'd want to go over here, I'd add an auxiliary bus. Let's turn down the direct signal of the strings, and let's shoot this over to auxiliary bus 1, so that way they're able to be processed through this auxiliary bus. Let's go here, let's go to distortion, add the swanky amp. Transient designer after that. We could add something like sound toys. Let's go sound toys and do something like little altar boy. I think I have my USB connected to this. I might not, because I've been going between different computers and it might say it won't load because my USB key might be over on the laptop. You see where I'm going. Yeah, so sorry. It's over on my laptop. I'm not gonna worry about that, but you can add whatever effects you want to process this to be all sorts of cool things. So it's not just for orchestration, you know, it goes all sorts of places. So I'm really thrilled with this library. Let me see if there's any questions I should be dealing with. Philip, I can't help you there. I can provide you guys the inspiring patches, and you know, the nice thing is you have this forever. So maybe at this particular time in your life, you've got responsibilities, but at some point life is ocean waves, right? There's times where the wave is gonna be up here and there's other times where it's gonna be down, and then you'll have time to play with it. So, you know, I can't help make you find time. So another thing that we did that's really, really cool, check this out. You guys asked a week ago, 1 week ago, where are multiple time meters? Where's time signatures? I need something in different time signatures. So I did it. I talked to Jeff. I said, Jeff, everybody's asking for multiple time signatures. They're freaking out. We gotta give them like some crazy time signatures. He's like, okay. And in one day, he made a whole bunch of MIDI files just going bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, like I've showed you, right? in 7/8/5/4, 15/8. Try to follow that. So if you go over here to the string adventures, we now have whole string orchestra in 7/8. And then because I love you guys to pieces, I went over to the BPM drums and said, I can play along with that. And I made some multiple time signature things like wild horses. Load this into the layer below and so you have multiple time signatures, okay? Because I love you guys so much, I wasn't gonna let that go. I had to make sure that we had something to cover. And then, on top of that, let's add something like butterfly hip hop in 4/4, turn it down a little bit and try to keep count now. And because we're 150, and the hip hop definitely is not, that's not hip hop, my friends. So you can go over here to the, is it this part here that's doing the drum part? Let's have it go to halftime. We don't have the tools in place yet to like alter the time signature to make it respect 7 and then repeat, stuff like that. We don't have that here yet, but some point we will do that so that you can make a 4/4 and make it. Just play when you want the down to start over. Just let up and play again and everything starts back on the 1. On top of this, it's deeper oceans than that. You won't believe this. Check this out. BPM strings 7/8. Let's start here again. Not only did I give you 7/8, if you open up this MIDI box, it has 5 different 7/8 patterns and a macro knob so that you can change between those patterns in real time. How's that for love? I have more love for you guys than any other company has for their customers. But check this out. So if I spin this knob, it changes the MIDI file. And so Jeff did all sorts of wonderful, listen to the feel of that, because the MIDI velocity in that is what's playing the library. The right durations. This is not a sequencer. You could not do this feel with a sequencer, no matter what you could do. I mean, an arpeggiator, unless you were able to go into the separate timing events and duration and stuff, and we're doing that just because of how Jeff played this on the keyboard. And now you want to see a cool trick? I love doing this. Load this into a new Unify layer again. Go into this MIDI box and speed the daylights out of it. Like make it play at let's say 200%. Faster. 250. And then, this is the trick. Turn it down. Now your strings have this frenetic energy. Isn't that cool? All right, so there's all sorts of tricks available. The world is your oyster, my friends. Dive in, it's so cool. Let me show you something else really cool. I can't count this. If you can, cool. Here's 15/8. Ready? I'll just play octaves. I have to actually open MIDI box and watch. It's right there's the 1. And there's 5 different 15/8 grooves. And even if you can't count and you can't do 15/8, it's still super, super, super cool to combine this with different things. Let's go to BPM drums and like just put a 4/4 groove. Let's say Orky Hop. Like that name, Orky Hop. And then let's halftime it. Oh, this is gonna take a long time to do. So if you go over here and say halftime, let's go to the hip hop. There's a drum kit right here is the most important part to halftime. If you just need frenetic, cool energy to rap over, boom, go. "2021's gonna happen." So there's so many places to go with this library. It's really, really exciting. Hope you guys are excited. I mean, it's 185 patches. It's so much information. It boggles the mind. Let me show you a couple of things that Jeff did that are more on the, I'm more the frenetic, everything's just playing all at once. Jeff actually is an orchestrator. He did orchestrations for Flushed Away. He's actually in LA right now recording down all the instruments and stuff for the Golden Globes that he's written all the music for. He's done that for like 20 years. So I couldn't be happier to have Jeff playing these. So this is 1 through 4, 5 through 8. This is a cool one. This is one that really shows, oh, the whole time I've been on the top down look. Oh my gosh, how embarrassing. Anyway, go back to the top down look. This here, because of the different samples, that's super, super fun. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I go down here to number 7, this is just that, more than just the octave ranges. Let's try a different groove. Let's go Hot Pursuit. Load into Unify. No clicks. So you can combine things super easily. The harp and celestes are beautiful, different passages that you would hear for a harp. Right? And now you can play across the keyboard these 4 different phrases. We go back and forth. So there's all these elements. The other thing that Jeff did that's really cool is there's both sound likes and then there's film. And these here are incredible. This is where he wrote out entire like film score pieces that are in 4 sections. Each octave, this is the drama. So you just got to picture like, you know, Matlock or some TV show, right? And you have different cues across the keyboard. Right? So there's that, there's horror, there's action, which goes all the way up to, these will probably take a minute to load, but cool, there's piano and synths. So you have these. Then if you go to the sound likes, these are where he's making it so you can play it across the keyboard, but sound like certain composers. Play any chords you want. And it will play. It's libraries and examples like this where Jeff needed combo box. This is where combo box comes from because he wanted different ranges of the keyboard for the strings to transpose properly so that they didn't ever sound bad. And so there's 4 MIDI filters that are each set to a very specific keyboard range. And then those keyboard ranges, as you can see, are transposed. That one's not transposed. This one's down an octave. This one's probably up an octave. And this is probably up 2 octaves, right? So he does this so as you play down the keyboard, it stays in the range it's supposed to stay and sound nice. So this is just one example of some things that you can do in Combo Box. By the way, there's a video of this person. I gotta watch. I haven't seen the video all the way through yet, but he uses Combo Box for like a 7-minute composition and just crazy stuff. And if you follow along on the Facebook Unify Power Users group on Facebook, Kindle posted a crazy thing where he's got all these Omnisphere and MIDI effects and stuff happening. Combo Box is a place where you can literally add any MIDI effects, any instruments, and any audio instruments, chain them together in really cool combinations far beyond what you can do in our structured layer of a layer with one MIDI effects slot that can be parallel and insert effects. Combo Box lets you break that wide open into any setup you want. So if you're into that kind of more object-oriented building, you can do that. But it was Jeff that came to Shane and said, I need to be able to do this kind of stuff. This is actually something that the Yamaha and Korg workstations can't do. And so we were able to put together, with the help of Shane, a situation where Jeff can do things here. He's made patterns for all sorts of Yamaha products. He worked with me 30 years ago on the Korg Ice series and the Karma, making GE patterns and all that kind of stuff way back in the day. So he and I've been friends with Jeff for like, when I first moved from Seattle to Los Angeles and moved into an apartment in Van Nuys and was completely shell-shocked because I thought Van Nuys was going to be like Anaheim. And, I'd been to Disneyland before, and I used to enter Yamaha Organ Festival competitions. And you'd go to Anaheim for the competitions. Anaheim is not the rest of Los Angeles, let me tell you. And so he lived in Encino and would come out to the Korg offices in Canoga Park, and we'd go have lunch with Ben, my co-worker at Korg that hired me and helped me get started working for Korg. And then we go to the park and play softball. And then from there, we became friends. And then those opportunities came up for him to contribute because his musical knowledge is just like a complete ocean of knowledge. He's done so many things with music. He has a big band that used to play, they're not playing right now, but he has like the most badass top cats for all this section playing in a full-on big band. And they would play in Encino at a little restaurant and just knock your socks off with arrangements he would do for all sorts of pieces. I mean, he knows big bands, he knows orchestration, he knows the orchestras. He's worked with all the big cats doing orchestrations for their films where they send him MIDI files and then he has to turn around and make it work for film with real instruments playing. So he knows in and out all that kind of stuff. When he says Jerry Goldsmith, it's because he's written music for films like Jerry Goldsmith. So it was an honor to do this library with him. It came out so fun. My gosh. So do you have questions? Yeah, so there's still people that have bad feelings about Spitfire Audio did they had this Westworld competition. We're past that. They had a little sense of humor with what they chose as the winner instead of some typical thing you would expect for the scene. You know, I have nothing to do with that, so. And I'll tell you just a little secret about Unify. We actually have some technology we were working on that's not ready for prime time yet, where we can change the chord analysis. We need to improve and stuff, but we have something in the vein of like being able to play different chords and it knowing what chord you're playing and playing different MIDI files, which is what you need to get into that smart auto accompaniment kind of stuff. That's something we might explore. It needs more work, but we explored that a little bit and we actually got something working that was really interesting. So there's all sorts of things we've like dabbled in a little bit. This isn't quite ready for prime time. So we might research and do more into that. MIDI box has so many places it can go. This is one of our little secret asset plugins because I hope in the future that you can edit right from here. So if the note's not long enough or it's not the right velocity, you'll be able to fix it right here without having to go anywhere. In fact, maybe you can make it right here in MIDI box. So baby steps. Each one of these libraries and updates is a step up in our building we're building, right? So let me talk for a minute because this library requires Unify 1.3, which is out. Yay! We released Unify 1.3 and this library yesterday. So yesterday was a big day. And one of the nice places that we did some last minute enhancements to is right here in the link parameters. This is so important because everything in this library has macro knobs assigned to something in it. There's all sorts of real-time control. In a lot of cases, you have control over each of the 5 sections so that you can control the bass volume, violin, violas, so forth. You have access to parameters like reverb inside of the plugins, stuff like that. If you're not familiar with, these are the knobs. And if you go to any patch, go to some of the bigger patches that are like this, and you have access to. I didn't give you a volume knob for the, or did I? No, I didn't. Let's say you wanted a volume knob for the percussion, because I think if I turn everything down, strings down, brass, woodwinds down, you have MIDI velocity, but I didn't give you volume for the drums. But you have each of the 3 sections. So go here to the second page of knobs. Let's go over here, say linked parameters. click the little plus right here, go to instruments, and here BPM drum, mix level. Done. Now you can make the drums go away. Right? Now up here, let's see, let me use technology. Go over here to OBS and go over here and zoom this up some. So we have, as you see up here in the top, these little boxes. And what these allow you to do is they allow you to tell Unify what you want your next modulation target that you're going to assign to be. So let's go to the macro knob 10, which you can see from whether it's brightly lit words or gray, whether something is already assigned to it or not. This has, it's gray, there's nothing assigned to it. Now if you look at this closely here, let me zoom in a little bit more. How can I do this? I gotta, hold on a second. Whoop. Okay. So, as you can see, these boxes, there's 3 possible values that you're looking at. The top, if the line goes to the top, that means the maximum value. If it goes to the bottom, that means minimum value. And if it stops in the middle, that means current value of the knob. So we don't change the knob parameters. We don't want to ever change what these are set to. We had some ways set up where you could do that and it would break the mix or something like that. We don't want to do that. So if you set this to minimum max like this, if you go to the list and you go to something like pan, boom, this tells it to set to minimum value, maximum value like left and right, and it puts the knob in the straight up balanced position. So I could now go through the whole library. I could set up pan position to all of these. Now, check this out. I'm going to show you a trick. 1, 2, 4. Oh, double click. This should be 3. Double click back. 3. Boom. You can type into the parameter list here. You could actually type out the whole thing if you knew what the exact name was. But I'm going to go here and say copy because I have 7 layers. And I can go over here and say add linked from clipboard. 1. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they're all set to 3, so I need to double click and say, no, you need to be 7. And if it goes green, that means confirmed I have connected to that value, 7, 6, 5, 4. Boom, just like that. Go down here and say whole mix, pan. And now, see it changing the pan position of everything? Oh. I've got to zoom back in some. Sort of technology. I should have saved presets that did this. I actually have some presets that do this, but I don't have it available, so sorry. Get you guys all dizzy and seasick here, right? Yeah, we need to be smaller so we get the whole keyboard on the screen. There. Oh, we should have plug and groove show up too. So, okay, like that. So if you see the pan knob positions right here, they're all moving. But if I wanted to control the mix of everything, I would use a different target. Instead of minimum max, this first one is what I would use because what it says is at minimum, I want the volume to be 0, minimum value, and the right where it is supposed to be is the current value. So I could go down the list, instrument 1, mix level. Now all I have to do is say copy, add, do this 7 times. I'm only going to do it for 4. Double click 4, 3, 2, 1. So now I have the whole thing and the drums are really loud, right? So go to the drums, say no. You can hear it in real time when you change it, so you can find exactly where you want the mix to be. And I want the brass to be here. And I need the strings. Oh wait, let's get this at max volume. So you do your mixing now here because those knobs are all assigned so that minimum, max. So the knob assignment has been given cool parameters so that when you select what you want it to be, you can tell it ahead of time how it's supposed to shape it to save you time so you don't have to click. I was doing like lists where I had like, some of these have 23 plugins and I needed to have 23 modulations. And it was painful to have to like move the settings and try to get the settings to be about the same and all that. So we implemented things like that. We also have an invert button. So if you change your mind and you want it now to be where this is minimum, just click the invert button right here and it will change what it is. So we have invert, we have the copy paste options, and we have these new abilities to choose. When you choose a target, this is how I want it to be displayed and set up automatically. Then I can adjust it from there if I need, but this is to simplify when you're assigning, because you have access to every parameter in every plugin. When you get to some of these where there's like, these are all Unify layers. So because Unify is, basically the way Unify works is you can only see the macro knob assignments to Unify. That's the automating thing. So what that means, and we haven't done it yet, but we will do it to where when you get to that macro list and you see that long list of things in Unify, one of the things I've asked Shane for is that this will say the name of the knobs as you've named them. Because if you go to volume, we're getting deep for a minute, okay? If you go to layer 1, string ensemble spiccato, if you open up this Unify, it has knob assignments. No, it doesn't. Well, if it doesn't, I have parameter setups where I can save and load. So I can go over here and I can say strings. I have some strings. Where are they? Strings right here like this. So it'll load up everything automatically. So I have the reverb parameters and volume, and they're not connected because I didn't have the right. The knobs have to match what the layer setup is. And this is looking for inside of Unify. And so I'd use a different presets. That was strings 3, I think. So I just go strings. Strings. No, is it strings 2? Load. One of these gets me to the right setting that I'm looking for. Yes. So here we go. So now I have all the reverb parameters set up. So I've saved that as a preset so I could just quickly load this up. But what this means is that these are named, right? And so in the future, I want to have it with an update. So when you go to the targets and you go to a Unify layer, instead of saying just macro 1, it'll say 2 is reverb, 3 is violin or basses, cello, volume, whatever the name of the knob is, that will be displayed here in this macro list, because right now you can't tell what targets you have available inside of that Unify layer. So that's one of the things on the update list I've asked Shane for, along with 800 other things. So, but anyway, we'll get there. So macro knobs is one of the big things that we updated in Unify 1.3. The other under the hood thing that's really cool is if you get the Plasmonic library. Plasmonic is a really cool new synthesizer from Bryan. We're still at 1.0 for Plasmonic, and it used to be in version 1.2 when you went from one Plasmonic patch. When I went to another Plasmonic patch, it would have to reload all those assets and it would take 13 seconds. It's far quicker. Literally instantaneous now. That's all thanks to a technology Shane created and implemented. So it saves assets to use again. So Kontakt loads faster, Massive loads faster, all sorts of things. Omnisphere loads faster and is now, we had a situation where some random patches would just be too complex and not always load into Unify. We have fixed that so that that works with this technology that Shane implemented. So yay to Shane. So that is a really nice under the hood. That's not one of those things that you can see, but that took a long time for him to solve, troubleshoot, and implement. So that is really cool. The other place that we have that's really exciting is you're gonna start seeing a lot more Kontakt libraries in Unify format. And what that means is, so we have to back up a little bit. Kontakt, when you download a library for Kontakt, if you load it in Kontakt, it's possible you'll get an error message there. That is a whole separate different issue that is unto itself. When somebody saves a Kontakt patch, it saves all the information for Kontakt, including where the samples are stored. And in most cases, your hard drive location is not gonna match the location on the developer's computer. Different folder names, different locations, all that stuff. Which means that when you load a patch, you go to load it, I believe it's gonna pop up an error message because I have not gone through the process of fixing it. See how it says, wait, I can't find a folder called developing/slvuppo/0G Ethereal Gold. Rats. I guess I have to go to my computer and make a folder by that name. Nope, you don't. So what you do is you click the button that says keep search mode selected. Here, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see this. This is important. By doing this, you click this box right here. And what that says is, after you have fixed this, please look in that same location for the rest of this session. See how it says current session? And I can use Search Spotlight, or I could search for the folder and go to the location on my hard drive. I'm gonna just say Spotlight because Spotlight works really well. It locates it, finds it, loads it. Takes it a minute to load the first time, I guess. So loading lots of data. Perfect time for a mocha break. Yes, Mark. Oh, Mark, nice to see you. So cool. Yeah, Mark is a longtime customer. Some of you guys have been around for a long time. So appreciative, but that's awesome. So this is a patch from Ethereal Gold. And because for Kontakt, right? It's loading up Kontakt. It's loading up the cool interface, all these capabilities. Now I can go down here. I could go to any other synth, anything else that's going on here. I could say electric guitar, right click, load into a new Unify layer. It pops up the error for message for a second. But then because I said search and I clicked that button to keep searching there in the current spot in this current session. Oh, I need to zoom out. Okay. Thank you for reminding me. Zoom out. Let's see. Actually, it's like almost zooming in for over here. Almost got it there and there. Okay, so I can right click on these different patches. Let's say we go to, I haven't played enough of this library to know some really cool combinations. Let's say organic guitar, load into a new Unify layer, error message pops up, searches. Really cool cinematic stuff that would go great with DiscoverStation, right? So what we did, that error message is gonna pop up every time you start a new session, and you have to do the search spotlight and click the little button. And so the solution is that you have to write the patches, and by writing the patch, it updates the sample location, because once it loads like this, it now has the right location to play the sound. So under this little bullet, which is new in Unify 1.3.2, is an update multiple patches. And what this allows you to do is whatever is displayed in the browser, and if you limit it by using keywords to just a set group of sounds, or in this case where it's everything, if I hit start, it's gonna now save 941 patches. It's gonna take 2 hours and 36 minutes and 40 seconds. And it will just go down the list of loading each patch and saving it. And that process will update this library so I never see that error message again. This batch process. It doesn't do anything to convert libraries into Unify. That's something you or the developer of the library needs to do. This isn't for that. We've had a couple of people write and saying, okay, this is really cool. How do I get my Kontakt library into Unify? And that process is still loading one patch. I'll show you. Well, let's do a quick little tutorial on that. So if you let this keep going, it will go down the list and it will do all 941 patches. I think it's on number 6. It's done 6 while I've been talking. I'm gonna hit cancel, but that's how you do it. Say start, go have dinner, go to bed, do errands, you know, whatever you need to do. The interesting thing about it is while it's doing this, I could actually have Unify with something else happen. Oh no, it would probably be playing and changing the sounds. I bet you probably, let's see, if I say update multiple, I haven't tried this. Start. Yeah, it smartly stops. Oh, you can play it. We'll see if that messes it up. Nope, it just goes to the next patch. So you can, this would be a cool chance to like audition all 941 patches, you know? Oh, that was cool, I like that. Cool, I like that. So each time it calls up a patch. So you just sit for 2.5 hours and audition the library and make notes. We should have a little like add to favorites button in here. So you just go, oh, I like that. Have it be an audition process. So anyway, you can do it that way. Now, if you want to take a Kontakt library and save it into Unify format, you can do that. And you can release the Unify presets for free on the internet because these are only pointing to a library in Kontakt. In order for you to use a library in Kontakt, whoever downloads the Unify library has to have installed that library in Kontakt. They have to go buy it or download it from wherever it is and download it, install it into Kontakt so that Kontakt is able to call up the patches without error messages. Well, actually, they can be error messages still in Kontakt because you're fixing it for the patches in Unify. But you still might have problems if you go here to Kontakt and you go to some library that you downloaded that requires the full version of Kontakt, you still might see that error message. But if you wanted to take a library and convert it, let's say I was to say, just for fun, I wanted to convert, let's go to something like, something that has some patches to it. Say I wanted to do Spitfire Albion 5, right? So go up here to the top and let's load the brass high into Kontakt. One thing, if you can use Kontakt 6, please do that. Because A, that's the newest version of Kontakt. And B, I think future versions are gonna also just be called Kontakt. In the past, it used to be called Kontakt 2, 3, 4, 5, which means in a case like this, you would have to use Kontakt 5. I think using Kontakt 6, if they bring out Kontakt 7, it's just named Kontakt, the Unify patches still should work for whatever version of Kontakt you have from Kontakt 6 forward. But by loading the patch, now let's do a quick check. If you go over here to the macro knobs, none are assigned, hold down Option and click the bullet. Go look at this plugin in Kontakt really quick because some of these libraries, they do assign parameters. So this has dynamics, unused CCs, release, tightness, reverb, expression, the different microphones, articulation control. You could set all these up ahead of time on the knobs. And if you want, you can actually do this after the fact if you're working with us, and we can automate writing whatever knob assignments are set up into 800 patches in about, it won't take long. Shane we have the technology to do that. But you could set up knobs. You could say, I want dynamics. And so that might be something you want on the mod wheel. So you could go over here and say, is that working the same way? Seems like it. Okay. So that is set up. In fact, if we look at the list, I might embarrass myself by being able to point out that this is probably set to, I think this number correlates to a MIDI CC number as well. but you can assign it to this knob so it doesn't need to be a CC. So we could say release instead and call this release. And now I have access to release. And I could go to this knob, option click. A lot of this basic libraries. Now, if you have a plugin for Kontakt, if you have a library that, what you do, go to automation page right here. This is where you set these up. And what you do is you can basically say 15 is not used. So I could go over here to reverb. And if I say, I think you have to, there's a way to add this to the list. I think, what do you do? I think you say MIDI CC 19. So I think if you go to 9, anyway, there's a way to right click. Oh, that's what you do. You say 15, right click, or just click it, and it becomes a little box, and you can highlight anything and hit plus, and it assigns it to that parameter. So they already have reverb. So we go, let's use this to something else. So expression, is expression here? Yeah, expression's there. So they have everything assigned to it already. So, but if you have a plugin that doesn't have the interface and you want to assign it to things, this is how you do it. You just click and drag to say, boom, and this is the mic distance for the brass. And they've got that on the list too, right? I'm sure. Yeah, right here. So they've already done everything for this particular library so that it's all programmed. You can set up the 8 knobs, and then once you've done it for this patch, you would go save, go to library and say new library, and you could call it what you want. Now remember, this library name gets written into the files. We have the way to modify it, but it's not something you can modify after the fact. So make sure you get your library name right, or write to us and we can help you fix that. But we would be Spitfire LB, I'm not gonna spell it right, Albion 5, Tundra. You could name it what you want it to be. This is now the library name, and brass or brass 1 or whatever the name is, you want to have better control over what it was. Brass for category, orchestral, RCA, and then tags for, you know, BB or for Spitfire, brass, reverb, cinematic, whatever you want. Put your author name. If it gets to us and it's something we're going to release, we will change it to plug in Guru. So that no credit. Make a little comment if you want. Use save as, and then save it. And it's made everything that needs it. Now it's made new folders for Spitfire, Albion 5, Tundra, patches, save. And I've started a new library, so I can now go down here to Spitfire, Tundra, and click to load it. And if I had all sorts of knobs signed, and then all you have to do is have Kontakt open. It doesn't take that long to actually do this. Go back to Albion 5. Where is it? Spitfire, Albion 5. So that was Brass's Hive. So in this case, I named it wrong. So you can check this out. So save and go Brass High. Update. Now, I also want to right click and say reveal in the Finder and fix it here. So I say Brass 1, Brass High. Because this is the file name in the Finder. I like to try to keep the names the same. You can actually have the name of the file. This could be Big Car. And it would still, if I hit the little refresh button, it'll refresh the library. I can choose Brass High, it plays. But when I reveal in the Finder, the library is called Brass Car or Big Car. So you want to, if possible, keep the name the same. Oh wait, this is Brass, Big Car again. Brass High. Click the little rebuild bullet. It will quickly rebuild it again. So load this. Now we can move on. So go to Tundra. And you can keep this open. This can actually become a really fast process once you get going. So open this up, go brass low, drag over the top of brass high so it replaces it. It loads it. And I'll show you something really cool because it always used to frustrate me that the brass and the high, brass low don't play in the top range, right? So we can go over here, we can go save brass low, save as, save. Now, right click and say load this layer into the current layer, and now I have brass low and brass high. And I could then go save brass low and high. Save as, save. So this is where the power of Unify gets to be wonderful because you can do things. Developer went, You're not gonna have access to those two at the same time. Now I have access to the two at the same time. And you do this for everything in the library, and then you call up patches that make you want to cry because it's beautiful. So strings high, drag it over. You don't have to close the interface. If you have two windows, I have one window open with a plugin. You just drag over the new instrument you want. Once you have the knob assignments, each patch you save will keep that same knob assignment setup, right? So by doing this, you can quickly go through and save hundreds of patches in a day. I have done it many, many times. So this is how we build all the libraries that are the unified libraries, or Kindle, or somebody does this. They just have Omnisphere open, go from patch to patch, save it in Unify, and it does it. So once this is done loading, and this is the main one. So it's loading everything up because the strings, they wanted to load everything up. But this is the process to build, and you could do this with any library. Put this into Unify format. You could share this with people because these presets won't work unless you've bought Albion Tundra. If you don't own this library, it's just gonna say, hey, where are these samples? And you go, oh, shoot. Let's see, what did I do? I think I loaded the strings. So option, click to remove. So I just have the strings. The other thing I like to do, if I can request, go here to this little bullet, replace from layer presets, go to the master presets on the master output. Let's see here. Let's go over here. On the master effects, layer presets, go to master and choose the optimizer. It just sweetens the volume, it makes it just a little bit more. It's like running through, it puts a limiter on the output. Here's without it. It just gives it a little presence. There's just a little slight low and high EQ bump. 2.5 dB, which you can bring down, of just limiting and bringing the volume a little bit. I find Spitfire libraries to be under volume quite often. So you could crank this up higher if you want. Just remember you're gonna be layering things at some point, but I like things to be, particularly in the greens, really good, at least. However, be aware of something. So let's say you crank up this volume in the master effects section. I would suggest not doing it there if you're gonna play with volume. Probably better actually to leave this down soft. And right here we have a new effect under dynamics called stereo gain. This allows you to bring up the volume up to 12 dB of added volume. Do it on the layer so that you get it to be, right? If you aim at things having like a similar range target-wise, it makes it better for layering. Save this as strings main. Save as, and save. I want to show you something. Say that we start with the brass, let's say brass low and high. So brass low and high. Notice it loads a little bit faster than it did before, partly because it's already in memory, but it also has the locations of everything, so that helps it. Now, when I load strings main, this is another thing that we did in Unify 1.3, so pay attention, wake up. If you go load in a new Unify layer, it loads this as a new Unify plugin inside of this, right? But if you open up this Unify layer, we have bypassed the master effects. This is why I suggest not adding effects to the master effects. Use auxiliary buses, use the insert effects to add reverbs and delays. We now do this by default because we didn't want to be loud max and compressing layers while there's also loud max and compressing on the master output. But also it makes it more seamless in loading. There's no click because loud max has a little bit of latency to it. You can unbypass this, and now it works. So if you have patches that you load into Unify layers and the effects are off, open up that layer and hit the little B button and turn it back on. When you go to the save page, we now have this button that's no longer save BPM data. We now save BPM data for everything. Instead, it's lock master effects. And if you click this button and you update this patch, what that means is that from now on, when I load the strings as a Unify layer and I open up Unify, oh, no, I turned off bypass, I've locked the effects, and I update the patch. So I should, let's see, update like this to make sure it's got it. Delete this. We're beta testing in real time. So right click, add this into a Unify layer, open this up. Oh, it's still bypassed. Okay, Shane, we gotta look at that. It's supposed to be that if you lock the master effects, maybe we can't save inside of here. So if we go strings main, so it loads it up by itself. If this is like this and you save it with lock master effects and update the patch, it now means if I load the brass and then I right click and I load this into a new Unify layer, I should double click there and it doesn't bypass. Maybe I have to save them from the top layer instead of, maybe we can't. Can you play a few sounds from your piano library? Are you talking, anyway, I just want to wrap this up and then I'll show you some, I think you're talking about colors, right? For Keyscape. So that's how you build a library. We're saving everything without this checkbox so that the master effects get bypassed when you load them, just so you know. But you can enable that if you want. Yeah. Pure, do you mean from what library? Yeah, whenever you go to demo something, you do it wrong. It never fails. Pure, are you talking about from inside a DiscoverStation, the piano patches that are there? Or are you talking about another library? Let me know and I will happily play some for you. There's a whole bunch of key patches here. We have inside, let's go back to DiscoverStation, changing gears a little bit. Still loading. The Dreamy Cinematic is the dreamy piano with the Noir library. I am in the process of saving out. I have some of them done. It'll take me probably, I'll probably have it done for next week because it's one that I want to do. This is the felt. This is this is gonna be incredible because I love Noir. This is a whole different category. The Noir library. So check this out. Let's play the bright felt from Noir, which is soft. It's a little soft, so I have to crank the volumes a little bit, but we can add some extra volume. Still loading. It takes a while to load. But go down here, and this is really fun. Add Felt Horizon as a new Unify layer. It's like, what? Then let's go over to the Pure library, because we can do this. And let's load in something like the Particles Brushed Duo. And now you're starting to push the computer pretty hard. So we're playing 3 different grand pianos. Light-hearted. Well, the library that there's a couple options for that, my friend Fisher. There's the Serum library if you're into more the hard, like techno style. That's really fun that Airwave did. I don't know if I have this in here, so I could show that really quick. I'm gonna be around for 15 more minutes. If you have questions, pop them up here and I can show you all sorts of different things. Let me go over here. I'm gonna click a couple buttons and the library will magically appear. I have Cloud City is another library that's really cool for the pop kind of stuff, but I want to show you both that and Airwave Melodic Techno, because it's really pretty amazing what Laurent did. It's our first library for Unify that he did. And what it does that's super amazing is it's using Serum. So you have to own Serum. There it is. And it takes Serum both for cool killer dance sounds and you can right click let's go over here and get a kick. I'm hitting too hard, so turn it down. And what's fun with this way of combining things is this is a Unify layer, right? So I can open up Unify, I can go to browse, I can change different patches, and it just lets you change the different patches. So I can try different kicks. I like that better. Let's go here, get some hi-hats. So you have all of these elements. Let's add a techno groove to this whole thing. So load this into a Unify layer and it's crazy. And everything you open up is not samples, it's Serum making the sounds. Right? And then Airwave, Laurent made some really amazing combining everything together into these BPM splits that you just push a button. It loads up, what is this? Like 8 Serum, ripping your head off for dance. Okay, so this library, on top of this, Cloud City is another library released last year, which is all more urban, more dance for what's on the radio right now stuff. There's all sorts of drum grooves. Stuff like this. There's all sorts of really cool grooves that you can add. You have really cool synth sounds like these you can add. And then I could say, watch this is a cool thing. Right click on the low note, and let's say we want to stop at C, and I want my drums to not transpose pitch. So you go to MIDI box and turn off note to course. So now wherever I play, oh, I got 2 things doing grooves. This and then this one above. Oh no, the first one right here. Turn that off. Now. And let's go down here and add a bass. There's all these really cool sub basses. There's like 500 patches in this library, so it's very extensive. Basses, solid sub. Add this as a new Unify layer. Right click on the top range so you get a question mark and hit a note to stop it at B, and And now you're ready for what's going on the radio. 1, 2, 1. Now, of course, on top of this, you need orchestral strings, right? So let's go to DiscoverStation, and let's go to the BPM strings, and let's go to something like, let's go Modern City Life. Add this as a new Unify layer. And it takes it a second to go, oh, wait, you really want to add strings to this? Okay, so. I could actually, let's just limit this range so it's just the left hand, so it's just for bass. That's really cool. I like that. Three notes. Okay, so that's what our offerings right now. There's drum loop libraries. I don't know if I have Big Bad Beats in here. No. But there's all sorts of libraries. I've got 80 libraries for other plugins as well. So we could, let's see. I don't have any of my other libraries in here. Oh my gosh. Because I've been just working on this stuff. But I could go over here and add Omnipulse. Omnichill is really cool. Here's colors for Keyscape. Let's bring some of these guys into Unify really quick. Go to libraries. Just hit the little bullet. Takes it a second. So I could go over here and I could say, let's add Omnipulse, a library for Omnisphere. And we could go to like guitar mute. This would be really fun to add. So you say load into new Unify layer. Now this is a muted guitar BPM patch. Then on top of this, let's go to, let's really try to blow up my computer. Let's go to colors for Keyscape. BPM keys, I have all of these things that I made that are multis. I will not touch those because those will blow up everything because it's multiple Omnisphere playing out at once. Seattle Pulse, load that into a Unify layer, and so all these libraries from all these plugins, they work together in cool ways. You never know what. Oh. Let's add the strings that we just did for our start to the Albion 5. So we can go over here and say, load this into Unify. Now we'll really blow up our computer. See if we can do it. So it loads it. This is the joy of multi-processor plugins because we have so much stuff. Oh. It's just so much fun to play with. So what do we end up with? That's 8 layers. My computer's working. No, it's not. Look at that. So you can go so many places with this stuff. So hope this helps. Not all of the the Mega Magic libraries are converted. I've converted, well, mainly other people have converted Omnisphere libraries and sent them to me. God bless Kendall and those of you out there that have contributed that just, you load a patch and save it, and then we take it from there. These are all, Mega Magic pads. I think I'm in the process of finalizing Dreams. I don't know if that's out. I have to go down my list and update it for everything it's in the works. This year, one of my goals is to get all of my collections, all 80 libraries, oh my God, into Unify format. Okay, so thank you all for sticking around to the end of this. Let's do shout outs. Shout out. Yeah, on the Unify page is the list of the ones that are totally converted. You can also log into your account, and if the file name, not the name on the left, but the file name on the right, if it says like O2/Unify, that means it now includes Unify patches. So lots of libraries have already been saved and are available. Actually, I think a few more are there than are on the official web page for Unify. The Unify Standard Edition page is here. If you want Unify, this is where you go to get. Let me make sure I just love combining things. You can sit down and just start combining, and you never know where you'll end up, and you're always going to have fun because it's just fun. The patches work. I mean, you could build a record for all sorts of cats that would just, it sounds like something I've heard on the radio, you know? Add more percussion to it and go on from there. But down to this list, if you scroll, these are the libraries that have been unified, libraries for Unify that we have. And then here's all the different libraries that are Plugin Guru libraries that are available. Omniverse 123, Omnichill, Omnipulse 123, Mega Magic pads, you see personal flavors, percussa, Bassbox, Repro Power Pack has been saved in Unify format. More are coming. I'm going to update I'm going to make a link right here. Right now, you can just download the 6 patches. I believe this goes to a file you can download, but it's now available with 15 patches. I haven't put it onto this page, but I will. There's more work to do to my website. It's always work in progress. But that's the master list of what is available in Unify format. And there's a lot, and there's more coming. So I have stuff in the works all the time. Never stops. My brain is just so full. But shout outs from wherever you are. Phoenix, Romania, Daniela. Daniela was like customer number 2 for the new library for DiscoverStation. So thank you for your support. Thank you to all of you for your support. Dearly appreciate all of you guys. The Guru Nation, you guys are family away from family. It's fun to be here each Saturday and hang out with you guys. Thank you, Toby. Shout out from Birmingham, UK. Right on. My brother Steve here in Oregon. Robin in Austin. Awesome, Oxford. Thank you. Listen to that. Wow. I should save these and make like mega patches that require you have to own every library and every plugin and stuff like that. Right to the DiscoverStation that I bought a couple hours ago. There's an email, or else you can log into the pluginguru.com website, and after you log in, it's listed there, my friend. I'm buying Unify today. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate your support very much. You will love it. Just the fact that it's both voice to the daylights, because I'm a programmer for sounds, but it's also underneath the ability to go right here and say, I'm gonna replace this with any plugin that I own, instrument-wise, audio effect-wise, MIDI effect-wise. It's a game changer. It's very fun and liberating. Unify. Your plugins are Unify. So thank you to all of you. Oh, you just installed it. Okay, if you've installed it, then you just click right here in the top right corner, and right here you will see DiscoverStation. Should show up in the list right there. And then you can choose stuff and play it. Beltron, but I can't find it. Okay, well, it's right here under the libraries. You're all cool. If you've installed it, so here it is. I'll show you the steps. You would hit site here, right? And then you open here. I have just DiscoverStation. That's what I have on my computer. Let's say you just drag over here. Do you want to install this? You say, okay, boom, done. It rebuilds. It might say you need the license number. You have to put in a license. It's a protected library. So it normally takes you over here to the key place right here where you have your license number, authorize online, paste your license number and authorizes, and you're done. Then you go up here and you click and you choose DiscoverStation or CoreStation, and there's the library. It should be right there for you to find. If it's not, Unify support at pluginguru.com is our email address. Write to us and we can help you figure out what happened. This is frenetic. This is like 32 plugins because each one of these is 8 voices, 8. I think it's 40. Yeah, there's 5 for the violins and then 8 for 4. So 32, 37 plugins. And this is a fun one to go in and play with. I'm using MIDI boxes to play at different speeds. So go to here to your relational things, say some play like one half speed, say like 8/2, so it's even faster, crazy speeds. If you hear to scale where it's no longer following time, then it just becomes just a wall of weird, crazy rhythm stuff going on. Just be aware of speeding up because that means it's playing more voices of polyphony. You can take down your computer very easily. But if at some point in a film cue you need it crazy, right? You can do it. Now, in a case like this, I just noticed I don't think I have checked the box. There will be a small update to the library. There's a few things like this I need to fix. MIDI CCs are not allowed to pass through. So you have to open up each of the MIDI boxes one at a time and click Enable MIDI CCs, all CCs. This allows it to do dynamics, to listen. I was moving my real-time control and it wasn't working for me. So turn this on for each of the layers. Right here. Okay, so I've done that to the contrabasses. So they can now they wouldn't listen to a fader beforehand. So I'll have to fix that for this patch and a few things like that. So, okay. I have not. I'm not into approaching artists. You know, other people like to do that. I don't have time. If they want to find this, you know, I'm honored that Herbie Hancock was, will this plugin work with UVI Falcon? Yes, it will. All you have to do is go to your plugin list, go to operations. You can select the files to scan if you just want to load Falcon. Go to your VST instruments and Falcon and say open. And by doing that, it's now there in the list. So you just go down your list to UVI and Falcon, and there you go. So yes, we work with all plugins. There's about 5% of them. Oh, I don't have my lock. Once again, don't have it, but yes, it will work. Okay. So thank you for your support. thank you. If you guys want to talk to artists and say you should know about this, I count on you guys to spread the word. I don't have time to go trying to hit up all the artists. Word will get out. I truly believe word will get out to the corners of the world that we are doing what we are doing, and people will find us, and it organically will happen. I don't have a PR department that goes and contacts all the artists that are on Spotify and say, hey, do you guys want this in your production kit? I'm not that big of a company. It's just me and Shane and people that I work with that build the libraries. And Taylor to help me get these libraries done. And Melanie to keep me sane. And yeah, there she is. Once again,
I brought you another one. I thought you'd be done by now.
No.
You're not keeping up.
I'm not keeping up. Cheers.
Cheers again. With the fresh.
Cheers again to everybody. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really good. That's yummy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Perfect timing. All right, you guys. Be well. We'll see you in another live stream. By the way, I've started this new thing. It's hands together, head bowed. You hands together, and then you turn your hand. I like that. So hands together, head bowed. It's an honor to get to do what I love and have it be something you guys are able to play with. So be well. Keep going. Cheers to Melanie and the mojitos. Thank you, Bertrand. Even when you're yelling, it's okay. I like to see that. So be well, everybody. We will see you in another live stream. Thank you for your support. Enjoy Discover Station. If you have questions, Unify support at plugandguru.com. We will help you out as fast as we can. We're getting questions, so it might take more than my normal hour to reply or something like that back. But cheers. See you soon.